Hello students, this is Paradise Lost Book 1 and this is part 3 of my video lecture series on this poem, and we are going to continue from where we left off in video number 2 part which means part 2 of this video lecture. And you can see this slide right here in front of you, and I'm reading. The poet says, served only to discover sights of woe. And now it is the scene where Satan has opened his eyes and he looks around, and all that he can see around him are images where there is nothing but tragedy, there is nothing but woe and pain around him. And it has been described, definitely he sees hell around him, and it has been described with words like woe, sorrow, doleful shades. And we all know what is the meaning of doleful, sorrow, woe. All of this means sadness and pain. So it means this. And the effect that the place has on Satan is very clear, and Milton also beautifully describes hell as a place where peace, rest, and hope, these three most important things, they never come, they never dwell. And the meaning of dwell is live. So it is a place where peace of mind and rest to the body and hope that is required for everyone. And he says, hope never comes, that comes to all. Everyone, including man, including human being, whom Satan wants to destroy, as we will see when we move further in the poem, we find that what comes even to the human being, which is a minute creature as compared to a strong creature, a godly angelic creature like Satan, but hope will not come to this place, which is hell. And he says, torture without end still urges, and the pain and the punishment that Satan is made to bear out here in this place, it is a continuous process, it is a never ending process. This punishment, this torture, it will move on without end. And a fiery deluge, so fiery deluge means river of fire. So the river of fire in which he finds himself, it is something which will never extinguish. This fire will never be put out. Why? Because it is fed with ever burning sulfur unconsumed. And unconsumed is a very important word again here. It is a fuel which will never be consumed, which means it will never finish, and the fire will keep burning, and the fire will keep on burning, and obviously forever. So it is a place definitely where hope and rest and peace will never come, only pain and sadness Satan finds himself surrounded by. And he says, such place eternal justice had prepared for those rebellious. The meaning of the word eternal justice is, it means God, and this is a place which he has prepared, especially made for those rebellious. Here he is referring to Satan's army, the rebellious army. Here their prison ordained. So their prison has been ordered here, made to order here in utter darkness. And this word darkness is very, very important, as we had seen in the previous slide also, how light is heaven and darkness is hell. So hell and darkness are as if they are synonymous with each other, and this is the place where God has prepared as a prison. It is the punishment which he has decided, and their portion set, which means their fate is now decided. and they know that they will have to bear out this fate, they will have to suffer this fate, destiny. It has been decided as far removed from God and light of heaven. And this is not just physical distance. Please remember that when he says far removed from God, it does not just mean that they are far away from God in terms of distance. No, it means physical. Definitely, they are physically, and distance of grace. How far away they are from the distance of grace. So this is not just physical distance, but distance from God's blessings also, as from the center thrice to the utmost pole. And he gives the example in terms of human, distance, you can say, in terms of human measurement. And just to make a comparison, if you remember, in previously also Milton had said that Satan and his army stayed unconscious for 9 days and 9 nights in human time, because for the gods time does not exist, it does not matter, it doesn't make any sense. But for human beings, definitely time makes sense. But here he is talking of distance in the same way as he had talked of time, in terms of human distance, in terms of human units of distance. It is, if you can imagine this as the earth, and this is the center of the earth, and this is the poles, this is the center of the earth, then this distance here into 3. So this is the kind of distance that they had been thrown away, distance between God and Satan. This is just to say that it was a lot of distance, a huge distance prevailed between them. And let us move on to the next slide, where he says, oh, how unlike the place from whence they fell. Now this is a between comparison between heaven, from where they had come, and hell, from where they are currently placed. So how unlike means how different is this new place from the place where they had come. There the companions of his fall, overwhelmed with floods and whirlwinds of tempestuous fire, he soon discerns. And the meaning of discerns is he soon sees. So he sees the the companions of his fall, his fallen army around him, and it is important because they are all still unconscious. And now Satan will use his speeches to wake them up. And first of all, he looks at the one who is closest to him, and that one person is Beelzebub. And he says, and weltering by his side one next himself in power and next in crime. See how he describes Beelzebub, where he says he next to him was lying the person who was closest to him in power and closest in crime. He is Beelzebub is the second in command after Satan himself in the army. So he is the next strongest person, the next powerful person here in Satan's army. And he says, long after known in Palestine, here he means to say when they will be born in earth, on earth, when they will all go to the earth, he will be known as Beelzebub. This is the name that humans will give him, to whom the arch enemy and thence in heaven called Satan, with bold words breaking the horrid silence, thus began. And now we are talking of Satan, and he describes him as arch enemy. Arch enemy means enemy number one. And if you remember, Satan, when he was in heaven, he was Lucifer, the archangel. There in heaven, he was the angel number one, the most important angel. And here he is described as arch enemy, enemy number one of God. And Satan, this is for the first time that Milton has used the word Satan, the name Satan, and afterwards, after Lucifer fell from heaven, in heaven, he was renamed as Satan, and he is using his bold words, breaking the horrid silence. So, apart from darkness, there was also silence in hell, which now Satan breaks because he speaks out. Satan speaks out in his bold voice. And whom is he addressing? Whom is he talking to? He is talking to Beelzebub. So in our next slide, we will see how Satan is talking to Beelzebub. And he says, this is Satan's first speech, and very important. He says, if thou beest he, and the meaning of thou is you. So he is talking to Beelzebub. Beelzebub is still not opening his eyes, and Satan says, if you are he, if you are, beest means if you are the same person, but oh, how fallen, how changed from him. See, he says, how different you look here. Are you really the same person who was with me in heaven? Because now his appearance is physical appearance is totally changed. Everybody, the whole army, the physical appearance of the whole army has changed. Even Satan looks different, and Beelzebub also looks different. He says, from him who in the happy realms of light. See, again, heaven is being described in terms of light. Clothed with transcendent brightness, did outshine myriads though bright. So he says, when you were in heaven, he's calling Beelzebub his partner in heaven. So he says, when Beelzebub was in heaven, his light was so bright that he outshone the other bright angels. So this is how he is describing Beelzebub in heaven, but now he is completely changed. And he says, if he who mutual league, mutual means together, united, united thoughts, counsels, hope, hazard. See, he says, we were united in heaven. This is how he shows his togetherness with Beelzebub. They were both together in thoughts, in counsel. Counsel means advice. In hope. Hope of what? When they were in heaven, they hoped of winning the war with God. So both of them dreamt of the same thing. Both of them hoped that they are going to win the war, and equal hazard. Hazard means risk. So he says, you were with me. You were united with me in everything. In this glorious enterprise, in this brave war that we had fought. Joined with me once, now misery hath joined in equal ruin. So he says, even in hell you were with me, just like now you are with me. So in these lines, if you look at these lines, he is talking of Beelzebub's loyalty to Satan. They had been together in good times, and now together in misery. So now, when bad times have fallen upon them, even then Beelzebub is equally there for Satan, with Satan, and this is very important. And he says, into what pit thou seest, from what height fallen. He says, see from where you have fallen and where you came. So it is a great change. He is talking of the great change which has happened in the situation of Beelzebub, and he is trying to wake him up. And let us move on to the next slide now. Satan says, so much the stronger proved he with his thunder. And here, definitely, he is talking of thunder, the secret weapon of God that he used to defeat Satan and his army. The army of Satan was definitely a strong army, and it could not be defeated. The war went on for 4 days, and God ultimately took out the weapon which even Satan was not aware of. And here the word he refers to God. So much the stronger proved. So God won the battle. He proved stronger only by the use of this one weapon called thunder. And he says, till then who knew the force of those dire arms, Satan himself did not know that God possessed such a powerful weapon. So does he mean to say that if he knew, अगर उसे पता होता that God had such a powerful weapon, तो क्या फिर वो ये लड़ाई लड़ता? क्या वो ये कहना चाह रहा है कि शायद वो ना लड़ता? No. He says, yet not for those, nor what the potent victor in his rage can else inflict. Potent victor means the strong winner. Of course, he's calling God the strong winner, potent victor, strong winner. He says, God in his anger used that weapon, and he can inflict even more upon me. Still, I do not repent and I will not change. This is what shows how adamant and how proud Satan is. These are definitely two words that define Satan. He says, even if I knew that God had that weapon, I still do not repent my decision to fight with him, and I would never have changed that decision. I still would have fought with God, even though I knew he had such a powerful weapon. And he says, even now I am changed in outward luster. My physical appearance has changed. Satan believes that only his outward form has changed and not his willpower. His inner willpower has not changed yet. He says, I have a fixed mind and a high disdain. Fixed mind means I have determination. At least this nobody can take away from me. मेरे अंदर दृढ़ निश्चय है. And high disdain, I have a great hatred. मेरे अंदर नफरत भरी हुई है. ये दो चीजें मेरे अंदर बदली नहीं है, चाहे मेरा आउटवर्ड फॉर्म जो है वो बदल गया है. एंड what is the reason? Why does he hate God so much? He says, from the sense of injured merit. He believes that injustice has been done with him when God decided that the Son of God, which means Christ, would be the successor of God, and the throne of God would not be given to Satan. Satan decided that this is injustice. They have overlooked my merit, that I deserved to be God's successor more than his son. So he says, I decided that with the mightiest raised me to contend. And he says, mightiest means the most powerful God. Contend means fight. So I decided to fight a war with God because I believed that God had done injustice with me, and to the fierce contention brought along innumerable force of spirits armed, that so many, a huge number of angels supported me. And it is definitely a question, why would angels support somebody even though they knew that he is going to fight a war with God? Because even the angels believed that Satan was deserving and he should have got the throne of God. So Satan believes that they disliked his reign. And disliked his, here he means God's. Reign means rule. So even these angels who supported him and formed his army, they did not like the rule of God, and they preferred him. Me preferring means they preferred Satan instead of God. And let us move on to the next slide, where the speech of Satan continues, and he says, his utmost power with adverse power opposed. We opposed him. Adverse power means equal and opposite power. We were not low, we were not weak. We also fought with him equally in dubious battle on the plains of heaven and shook his throne. We almost defeated him. He believes that he was almost going to defeat God until God brought out the weapon of thunder. And then come those very popular lines, very motivating lines, and Satan says, what though the field be lost, all is not lost. अगर एक जंग हार गए तो भी क्या? Field means one war. Even though we have lost one war, all is not lost. Until you are alive, until your will and strength is alive, still there is hope to win the war again. So what though the field be lost, all is not lost. क्या क्या चीजें वो कहता है, अभी हमें हारे नहीं है. The unconquerable will, the study of revenge, the immortal hate, and the courage. He says कम से कम ये चार चीजें अभी भी हमारे पास हैं. We have not lost them. Unconquerable will means undefeated determination, willpower that nobody can take away from us. Revenge, that feeling of revenge, the feeling of revenge, and that never dying, immortal, never dying hatred. This nobody can take away from us. Courage. Courage means strength. That strength, that bravery, nobody can take away from us. So if from inside we still have these qualities, we are not yet defeated, he says. Never to submit or yield. Submit or yield, this means to admit defeat. हमने अभी हार मानी नहीं है. And what else? Not to be overcome. And not to be overcome means never to be defeated forever. We will never be defeated forever. आज हारे हैं, कल फिर लड़ेंगे, फिर हारेंगे, फिर लड़ेंगे. We will never be defeated forever. That glory never shall his wrath or might extort from me. वो कम से कम वो मुझसे नहीं छीन सकता. Extort means he cannot take away. He cannot snatch from me. He here means God. God's anger or his power, he cannot take away or snatch from me the glory of never being defeated. So he is greatly optimist. He is greatly positive and believes that one day they are going to win the battle, even though now, at least now, they lie here defeated. And then he says to bow and sue for grace, with suppliant knee and defy his power, who from the terror of this arm so late doubted his empire. He says, what does he think? भगवान क्या सोचता है? That I will bow and sue for grace, that I will kneel in front of him and ask for and beg for mercy. भगवान क्या सोचता है? मैं उसके सामने घुटने टेक दूंगा. बाव का मतलब है झुक जाना, नील का मतलब है घुटने टेक देना, स्यू फॉर ग्रेस क्या मैं भीख मांगूंगा कि वो मुझे माफ कर दे. विद सप्लायंट नी, सप्लायंट नी का मतलब होता है बेंट, बेंट नी, अपने घुटनों पर क्या मैं उससे माफी मांगूंगा. एंड डिफाई हिज पावर, और क्या मैं उसके सामने हाथ जोड़ लूंगा, उसे अपने से पावरफुल मांग लूंगा. डिफाई हिज पावर मीन्स टू बिलीव गॉड टू बी, आई जस्ट बिलीव गॉड टू बी superior. He says, do you think I am going to do that? No, not at all. I am never going to do that. He knows that God wants him to ask for mercy, to beg for mercy, but he says, I will never do this. We already know that. See how proud Satan is. This is one characteristic trait of Satan, that in whatever situation he is, he will never leave his pride, and he will never kneel down, and he will never beg for mercy. He says, who? From the terror of this arm so late. So late here, so late means recently. Terror of these arms, this arm here he is referring to his own strength. Doubted his empire. Even God was unsure about his rule, because God thought that maybe he is going to be defeated. वो कहता है उसे क्या लगता है कि मैं उसके सामने माफी मांगूंगा. वो जो अभी कुछ देर पहले रिसेंटली मेरी इसी बाजुओं की ताकत से, द टेरर ऑफ दिस आर्म, अब खुद डरता था और सोचता था कि कहीं उसकी गद्दी उसके हाथ से चली ना जाए. क्या वो सोचता है कि अब मैं उससे माफी मांगूंगा? That were low indeed. वो कहता है that is something which is so low that it is unimaginable. अनइमेजिनेबल, जो सोचा भी ना जा सके. सो ही सेज ये तो कम से कम मैं नहीं करूंगा. इवन दो, सी हाउ लो वर्ड इज यूज्ड हियर, इवन दो दे आर लाइंग इन हेल विच इज द लोएस्ट ऑफ प्लेस. वो कहता है चाहे हम बिल्कुल नीचे गिरे हुए हैं, हेल में हैं, लेकिन अभी इतना भी नहीं गिरे कि मैं भगवान के आगे झुक कर उससे माफी मांगू. दैट वर लो इंडीड. ही सेज दैट वर एन इग्नोमिनी. Ignominy here, the meaning of this word is insult. That were an ignominy and shame beneath this downfall. तो वो हेल में रहने से भी बड़ी शेमफुल बात होगी अगर मैंने, इंसल्टिंग बात होगी अगर मैंने भगवान से माफी मांगी. Since by fate the strength of gods and this imperial substance cannot fail. He says, since by fate the strength of gods and this imperial substance means, जैसे इंसान का शरीर हम कहते हैं मिट्टी का बना है, जो अमर नहीं है, मर जाएगा, जिसका जीवन टेम्पररी है. तो ये गॉड्स का शरीर उस इंपीरियल सब्सटेंस से बना है, दैट विल नेवर डाई. सो ही इज टॉकिंग ऑफ द इमॉर्टैलिटी. Okay, so he says, even though we are immortal, because we have the strength of God, and we are going to lie here, this is a great setback, this is a great drawback. और हम अमर होने की वजह से ये ड्रॉबैक हमेशा महसूस करेंगे, ये दर्द हमेशा महसूस करेंगे। फिर भी वो कहता है मैं भगवान के आगे झुकूंगा नहीं, चाहे मुझे हमेशा के लिए इमॉर्टैलिटी की वजह से हमेशा के लिए ये डाउनफॉल सहना पड़े, बट मैं कभी भी झुकूंगा नहीं। लेकिन ये इमॉर्टैलिटी का एक फायदा भी है, दैट अल्टीमेटली बिकॉज दे आर इमॉर्टल, दे स्टिल हैव द चांस टू अगेन गैदर देमसेल्व्स टुगेदर, अगेन टू रिप्लेनिश देयर स्ट्रेंथ, टू ब्रिंग बैक देयर विल एंड फोर्स एंड स्ट्रेंथ अगेन, and again to fight God. They still have the chance to wage a war against God, and maybe if they do that, they are going to win the war. He says, since though experience, the chances of winning are great now. He says, the chances of winning are better now. The reason that they have experience of the first war. एक बार का एक्सपीरियंस दूसरी बार काम आता है. Similarly, he says that we have the experience of one war and arms not worse means we still have our strength. हमारी strength नहीं कम हुई है, लेकिन हमारा experience बड़ा है. So we still have the chance. In foresight much advanced. Foresight means we can think ahead. वी कैन प्लान. अब हम अपनी प्लानिंग पिछले एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से कर सकते हैं. वी आर गोइंग टू प्लान अहेड बिफोर वी मेक द नेक्स्ट मूव. अगली चाल चलने से पहले हम फिर से सोच समझकर आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. वी मे विद मोर सक्सेसफुल होप रिजॉल्व टू वेज बाय फोर्स और गाइल इटर्नल वॉर. सी व्हाई डज ही कॉल इट इटर्नल वॉर? इटर्नल मीन्स फॉरएवर. दिस इज अ वॉर विच इज गोइंग टू कंटिन्यू फॉरएवर. अच्छाई और बुराई में, सेटन और गॉड में वॉर कभी भी रुक नहीं सकता है. अनस्टॉपेबल. It is unstoppable, the war between Satan and God. So he says there are two ways in which we can fight this war. The first way is by force, by strength. And the second way by which they can fight this war is by guile. What is the meaning of guile? Guile means by tricks. ओके. जैसे हम कहते हैं धोखाधड़ी से. जैसे घी सीधी उंगली से ना निकले तो उंगली टेढ़ी करनी चाहिए. तो वो कहता है कि हम कई तरीके अपना सकते हैं. अगर हम गॉड को स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड नहीं हरा सकते, सो वी कैन यूज सम dubious means, some planning, some tricks to defeat God, because this war is going to go on forever. It is unstoppable, irreconcilable. There is no scope of peace. There is no scope of settlement. Agreement का कोई चांस नहीं है. To our grand foe. What is the meaning of the word foe here? I'll just make some space. The word foe means enemy. And who is this enemy? He's calling God his grand foe. He says the war with our grand foe is never going to stop. And then he says, who now triumphs? Triumphs means who now celebrates his win. अभी तो वो जीत गया है. And he is happy in the excess of joy. Soul reigning holds the tyranny of heaven. And he is happy to be the unchallenged ruler of heaven. And he says अभी फिलहाल के लिए तो soul का मतलब होता है only one. He is the only one reigning, ruling, king of heaven, and he is very happy right now. But he doesn't know that Satan is planning against him. उसको ऐसा लगता है कि भगवान को कुछ पता ही नहीं है, लेकिन obviously God knows everything. God himself has planned out everything, and Satan believes that he is going to fight God, even though God is now very happy. And here ends the first speech. अब ये मिल्टन कह रहा है, सो स्पेक द एपोस्टेट एंजल, ऐसा कहा उस एंजल ने। लेकिन अब वो उसे, एपोस्टेट का मतलब होता है फॉलन एंजल, अब वो उसे फॉलन एंजल कहता है, दो इन पेन वांटिंग अलाउड, वांटिंग मीन्स ही इज यूजिंग bold and loud speech. He is using bold and loud speech to say his words, even though he is in pain right now, but racked with deep despair. ये जो word despair है, आजकल हम इसके ये spellings use करते हैं। despair का मतलब होता है दुखी होना, सैड होना, पेन में होना, तकलीफ में होना, to be tortured. Even though he was in deep pain and tortured, but still he was using these bold words, these proud words, and him thus answered soon his bold compeer. Compeer means his friend. और जब सेटन बोलना बंद करता है तो नेक्स्ट कौन उसे जवाब देता है? ही इज टॉकिंग ऑफ बिएल्जेबब, और सेटन की बात का जवाब देता है बिएल्जेबब. So this is where I end my video right now, and in my next video we are going to begin from here, from Beelzebub's words. I hope you are understanding this. Thank you very much.